It's another edition of BS with Bob Schmidt. I'm Bob. Dr. Antonio Harrison is my guest. So who is Doc Harrison?
That's an interesting question. There's so many different things I've done, so many different lanes, whether it was coaching high school football, having a PhD in behavioral science, graduate school professor, father, husband, and then, former college football player. But somehow I ended up being a virtual reality fitness coach at the age of, we started 7 years ago. So I'm now 42. So that's where it's gone to, is being inside a virtual reality fitness coach.
So at 35 years old, kind of jumping in and being that, that guy that's doing that. How did you get involved in doing virtual reality?
So I was a graduate school professor full time, and I didn't read the fine print when they gave me that opportunity. And the fine print was you had to teach 4 classes per term with maximum student load, which was 32. And the way they set it up was every 3 weeks there was a paper. So every 3 weeks I had over 120 graduate school papers to grade. And I only had 5 days to do it. And I just got burned out. Wow. And so I quit. And when I quit, I had enough money saved up. I was still coaching, and I decided, I want to do something where I still get to talk in front of people, because I've done a lot of keynotes, but also use a little less brain power, have some fun. And I ended up getting a job at a boutique treadmill fitness studio right across the street from where I coached. And my kids went to school, and the person hiring me, who I went the interview with, and basically in like this little back closet office, was Coach Leanne. And she was kind of like, what the hell are you doing here? Like, why are you want this job? And I told her. And so then I started doing that. About 2 years, she left, and they got bought by Exponential Fitness, which franchises these little boutiques all over the globe. And they wanted to do Peloton style. And so I auditioned. I got it. I was on camera when they went to the largest fitness expo in North America. They used my video as the example to show that, we had just bought this company. And Leanne happened to be walking around with the founders of Supernatural while they were doing auditions for coaches. And she was like, that guy. And so I was sitting on my couch, man, and I got a text message to say, you want to be a virtual reality fitness instructor? And I just responded like, I don't know what the hell that is, but I'm game. And that was it.
Do you script out what you're going to say when you're doing the coaching?
We script the warm-ups and cool-downs. As for the actual workout, so we do the workout while we're mic'd up. Some coaches are very formulaic, and they'll put like timestamps and exactly what they want to say. I just kind of use bullet points, so that way I can see what I want to convey or get across, but then I'm in the moment and I'm just letting it rip. It's the same way I do my talks on stage. Like I have to. That's the best way for me to do is shoot from the hip.
That is the best way to do it, because I'm a speaker by for a living, and if I write it down, I tend to sound like I'm reading.
Yeah.
But if I just put it out there, then it's good. So, are you actually doing the exercise while you're coaching it?
We are doing the exercise while we coach it, which is why a lot of people are like, I feel like they're watching me. He told me to breathe at this moment, or to blink, or engage my core, and it's because I'm just telling myself what I should be doing, because I forgot to breathe. So I'm going to convey that to you, because that's probably the same spot you forgot to breathe.
Yeah. Well, so to be honest with you, like I said, I've done it for the last 3 years. I've only noticed in listening a couple of times where it sounded like there's a coach catching a breath. A lot of times, because it just sounds like, they're sitting on the recliner, drinking a beer, having a hot dog.
We're doing the workout. Now, some people do it a little harder than others, but, that's our job, fitness professionals. So, like, it's it's tough, but we've trained ourselves to be able to work out and talk at the same time.
Right. So I did post on Facebook that we're going to be having this conversation in a supernatural form, and I don't know about you if you had a chance to look at them. There was a lot of questions. A lot of people popped in and had some questions for you. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just ask some of those questions. And I wanted to start off with the first one that jumped out at me. It was like, you don't like potato salad? What the hell's wrong with you?
No,
I will fight you right. I will fight you right now. Come on, I learned how to be a boxer now on Supernatural. I am a boxing king. Come on, let's go.
You got it.
How do you not like potato salad, man?
I'm not mayonnaise. I don't eat mayo.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't like mayo either, but I do like potato salad.
So anything that's like a creamy kind of white sauce. I just don't sour cream, ranch dressing, mayonnaise. I also don't mess with ketchup. Like I just don't Alfredo sauce. Like I don't want any of that.
Oh man, I don't know if we can be friends. I really don't.
You can eat your potato salad in the corner. It's okay.
What about tattoos? So a lot of questions were based on your tattoos. And do you have a favorite tattoo?
Ooh, that's a good one. Do I have a favorite tattoo? I think my favorite tattoo, because, you know, they all have meaning. They're got my kids. They've got some of my spiritual beliefs or some of my former beliefs. But I think the favorite one is like son, like father. And that's because when there's a period when my dad was incarcerated and I had reached out to him through letter and was just saying, I want to get the tattoo like father, like son. And he wrote back and said, I don't care, but I'd rather you flip it because I raised you to be better than me and you've done it. So I aspire to be more like you now. And so
wow.
I was like, okay. And it was beautiful. And that's actually what our podcast was called, Like Son, Like Father. So that's probably one of the most meaningful ones to me.
That actually gave me goosebumps when you said that, Doc.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I mean,
it's
you
real.
can see that right there. So that's very cool. So like son, like father, so you have children.
I do.
Do you want your children to be like you then, or do you try to aspire to be like them?
I want my children to be exactly who they are. I want them to be better than me. I think it's interesting. Your dad is probably, as a male, your dad is the only, if you have sons, the only male in your life who actually wants you to be better than them. I just truly believe that. Yeah. Like, yes, I want you to prosper, Bob, but I don't want you to necessarily be better than me, right? Like, we all feel that way. But for my sons, I want them to be whoever they want to be, and I do want them to be a better husband, better person, better father to their future kids, whatever it may be, you know.
So I noticed one of the other questions in there had to do with with one of your kids in a band. So your sons play in a band?
Well, my oldest son, he is self-taught musician. He plays the guitar, the bass, the drums. I've seen him do a little bit on a piano and also a violin. I thought he was going to try to get a band together, maybe get his brothers in, but recently he's just kind of kept it as a hobby. So I think the band thing is out. He made himself a CD with some songs, and then he was kind of over it after that point.
So how many kids do you have?
I got 3 boys.
3 boys. Okay, I have 3 boys also and a daughter. So I've but my kids are probably older than yours. Mine range from 24 to 30.
Yeah, mine's 16, 13, and 11.
Nice. So you think it's harder to be a dad these days than it was like when you were growing up?
I think we make it harder on ourselves. We have access to so much information as well as access to them 24/7. I mean, I'm sure just like you, Bob, like growing up, I'd get up on a Saturday, leave the house on my bike at 7 a.m. after calling my friend on his house phone. I wouldn't come home until it was dark. No phone, no money, no anything. You're just out riding through the streets. But now we see everything. And of course, we're bombarded with negative stuff and things that are, not savory. And so you fear for your children a little bit more. Also, you see what's going on and you see what they're posting and you can track their location. So I think we've done it to ourselves a little bit with the use of that technology by making it harder. But I think as long as you show kids love and discipline, like it's just like anyone else, So I don't think it's as hard. We've just made it harder on ourselves.
I'm glad that you said the love and the discipline, because I think that a lot of times parents nowadays tend to be more, I want to be your best friend. Well, you know what? My kids are old now, so I am friends with my kids. But when they were kids, it was definitely a father-son relationship more than come on, bud. I mean, we were still buddies and stuff, played catch all the time and did stuff together. But there was that respect that we had, and I think that a lot of times that falls to the wayside.
It was interesting. There was one instance where I got a phone call from my son's school when he was younger in elementary, and the teacher was just like, yeah, I just want to let you know there was an incident where your son was bullying someone. And I was like, what? And so I was like, I just hung up the phone. I was like, I'm on my way. And I went down to the school, pulled him out of class, and we went to the PE teachers where it happened. We went to his teacher, to this other kid with apologies. And come to find out, he didn't actually bully the kid at all. He just he's super competitive, and the kid wasn't participating in the game, which caused them to lose. So he kind of blew up at the kid. But it was the PE teacher had pulled me to the side when I was leaving and just goes, we don't see that anymore. Kids aren't the respect level from the parents or you can say the fear, but it's a fear that is one of my parent holds me accountable. They just don't see that in the kids anymore. The kids just complete disrespect for their parents and disregard for any kind of accountability. And I'm not overgeneralizing, but it's more common than you think.
That happened when my kids were little too. I mean, I remember kindergarten, same kind of deal. The teacher called, sent a note home. The note got thrown into the garbage. And I called my son out. I'm like, hey, your teacher said that she sent a note home. Oh, I might have thrown it away.
Yeah, of course, right?
And to follow through. I mean, a lot of times parents nowadays don't follow through, and that is an unfortunate thing. So my next question has to do with life and how life has changed over the last X amount of years for you. Yeah. How has your life changed, and is it kind of going in the way that you thought it was going to go?
Definitely not the way I thought it was going to go. I mean, I was a varsity high school football coach for 16 years, stepped away from that. My kids are growing so fast. I've got one who's driving now. The two older ones have girlfriends. Well, the middle one just broke up. But I was teaching, and then all of a sudden I was this fitness coach, and the virtual reality thing, like I didn't even know that was going to be a thing in the world. You know, like I just thought that was going to be for people to play video games, not for working out or for doing business work. So it's definitely not the direction I ever thought it was going to go, but it's in a direction that I'm loving.
So have you been walking down the street and somebody's like, Doc?
It's funny. A lot of people think that must happen all the time. It's only happened to me about 4 or 5 times, twice in an airport, once coming out of the store, another one at a flea market, and then one at Universal. And for the most part, they've all been all of them, they've been very cordial and pleasant, but 2 of them definitely caught me off guard. Like the one at the flea market, the guy came sprinting towards me and my kid. Here's some guy running at you, and you have no idea. Right? I pulled my son behind me and was like, "Hey, man," And then there's another one when I was coming out of the store with my son again, the same one. And as I'm opening the car door, the guy gets out of his car and he goes, "Hey, don't I know you?" And that's not really how you want to approach somebody. And I was like, I don't know. Do you? And he's like, you're Doc, right? And so whenever someone says Doc, I'm like, oh, supernatural. Okay.
Right.
If they were to say Antonio, then like I know that they knew me from a different span. And if they say Tonio or Tony, I know it's also a different time span.
Like I said, I was a radio guy for a lot of years, and when I started dating my partner, we were at a bar, and this guy starts talking to me across the bar, and Monique says to me, she's like, "Do you know that guy?" I'm like, I don't know that guy.
No clue.
So he recognized my voice, saw me from Facebook, and then we were 70 miles away from where I used to be in radio, and this guy talks to me like we were best friends. And I mean, it's just creepy to have that happen to you.
It's cool. Like I will always say hello and shake a hand or take a picture. I recognize the fact that like the things that I've gotten to do don't exist without the people utilizing the product.
Right. That's true. So, I wasn't going to bring this up, but Supernatural, they let go of all their coaches.
Yeah.
And so is that program going to continue on, do you know? I mean, is it going to...
I mean, as far as I know, it continues, until Meta decides to not continue it, and I don't know what their plans are for that. I just know that nobody works for Supernatural anymore.
That is very unfortunate, because I've been on the Supernatural forums for the last few years, and I just seeing the amount of positivity that comes out of that's fantastic.
Yeah, and I hope people continue to use it as long as they can, or even if it stays up in perpetuity, like stay with it. Like there's over 3,000 workouts in there. There's no way to get bored.
No, there really isn't. So, like your lines at the end will catch you in traffic, and some of those things that you say at the end. At the end, you just came up with one of those one day, and you're like, "Oh, that one sticks pretty well." So I'm going to stay on with that one. Or
much love always was always kind of my thing. I appreciate you, and I see you as another one. And yeah, I'll catch you in traffic. That was a friend I hadn't seen in decades. I caught him in a grocery store, and we were talking, and there was no exchange of numbers or anything. He's like, "Yeah, I'll catch you in traffic." And I was like, that's brilliant. So it's just, I'll try them out. And if I won't necessarily see if they stick, because I don't get feedback on that from the athletes. But if I like it, hey, why not?
You got to be true to yourself. So speaking of being true to yourself, is the coach doc that you share, is that truly you?
What do you mean?
Well, because you're talking about your house parties and stuff that you did when you were in college, and you had so many people at some of them where you took all of the furniture out and had big parties, and I mean,
those are all those are all real. Yeah, I tell all real stories in my coaching.
That's awesome.
Coach Doc is me. It's just me turned up a little bit in terms of personality because we're on camera. But I'm a super laid back guy. Like if you watch some of our social media posts and reels where I'm kind of in the background, just kind of chill. That's real. That's me, right? Coach Doc is just a turned up volume knob because I'm on camera.
Okay, so now you're talking about doing some social stuff, and I've seen you recently doing a lot more social, at least that I've been seeing, and you are very mellow in that, but you're also working on doing some app stuff. What kind of things are you working on these days, Doc?
So I've got an app I'm working on with a friend of mine that is basically, you can call it Tinder for friends, right? It's just for people to make connections with people and to build lasting friendships based off of their style of friendship and what works for them. I'm finishing the 4th book of a 4-book series based off of my journey in 2025, finding faith in my life. And I've got my podcast coming up. There's a challenge journal I wrote that it's a 100-day challenge journal. It's not fitness based. It's more to kind of get you into a new comfort zone. And so we're kicking that off this upcoming Friday, the 13th, because that'll take us 100 days right into summer solstice. And so, I've got all different kind of things lined up, and I'm just trying out different stuff and being creative and having fun, man.
How did the Tinder app come about?
My buddy reached out and was just like, hey, I'm working on this thing. I'd love for you to be a part of it if you're interested. And I looked over it and was like, I like this. He knows what friendship means to me. Like there's 2 people I talk to once a month, like clockwork. One of them, I've been doing it for almost 2 decades now. So friendship to me is super important. And I know that, unless you give someone an opportunity, you never know if you guys are going to click. And my buddy that I've been talking to once a month for over 2 decades, if you saw him and I together, you would never think that we were friends. You just wouldn't, right? But he's so important in my life. So I just said, hey, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's see what we can do here.
Actually, what you just said there is awesome because there are so many different relationships that are out there with different people that you look at, you're like, how in the hell does this even work?
Yeah.
But honestly, those are the relationships and the long-standing friendships, I think, that are meaningful to everybody's life.
Yeah, and I only have, I look at all the stuff I've gone through in my life and all the different places I've been. I've got one of my closest friends from when I was a child, who I just went to the horse races with yesterday. I've known him since I was 12. My other buddy from Iowa that I talk to once a month, known him since college. And then, there are friends here and there that I connect with, but those are the 2 like staples in my life. So it's just like 2 of them.
Wow, that's crazy. It's funny because I know that when I was on the air, I used to have like 5,000 friends on Facebook or whatever it was. And then I said something like, "Yeah, I got all these friends." And somebody said, "Are they really your friends? Do you really know this person's mom? Are you this person's?" And I'm like, no. And then I started thinking about that, and then I'm like, wow, there's really only about 5 or 6 people besides my family that I really am that close with. So you just mentioned Iowa. I can look out my window right here, and I can see Iowa from here. I'm in Wisconsin. I'm in Ferryville, Wisconsin, a town of 191 people.
My buddy's from Waukesha, and so we would go up there.
Waukesha, Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Really? So how is your Iowa-Wisconsin connection? How does that work?
I played football at Grinnell College in Iowa and at Grinnell, and I love Iowa. If I had my druthers, I'd move my family there. My wife wants no parts of it. We're both born and raised Southern California. But I love Iowa. We played Midwest Conference, so we had people from Illinois, from Minnesota, from Wisconsin, and one of my wide receiver buddies, he's from Waukesha, so we'd go up there. We'd play Carroll College and Midwest. I love the Midwest and down south. They're fabulous to me.
So you mentioned Grinnell. Actually, my partner and I's best friends just moved to Ferryville, which is 191 people from Grinnell. And another buddy of mine who is a motivational speaker, his name is Josh Coburn. I don't know. He's a Grinnell guy. He has tattoos on his forehead like mind, body, environment. And he gives a lot of like, I was going to ask if you knew him from when you were in Grinnell. But, Grinnell's a tiny town, man, in Iowa, so you figure that,
Best decision I ever made, 4-stoplight town. Best decision I ever made.
Ever spent any time in La Crosse?
I've gone up to La Crosse. We've hung out once or twice. Anytime we were up in Wisconsin, it was either to play a football game or to hang out with my buddy and his family.
Not to drink beer. Are you a beer drinker?
Yeah, I am.
One of the questions on the Facebook thing said, Doc seems like the kind of guy that you'd want to hang out and have a beer with.
Yeah, I'm down.
Favorite? What's your favorite beer?
Latitude 33 Blood Orange IPA.
Is that
Yeah.
so? Is that a local?
I think they're out of California. I can only get them in like 3 different places. Either this one Vons, the Bevmo has like one of them, or Total Wine, these like 2 spirit stores. But it's the only place I've ever been able to locate them. The one that I did like before that was called Pseudo Sue. It's made out of Decorah, Iowa.
That's right down the road. That's right down the road from here, man.
Yeah, that's where I go visit every year, Decorah.
Do you really?
That's where my buddy lives.
There's 2 breweries in Decorah. Did you know that?
Yeah, we've been to both.
Oh, you've been okay.
Yeah.
Because they got good beer, and I never really liked sour beer until Decorah either. They've got a couple of sours that are pretty decent.
Yeah, my buddy likes it. I'm not a big fan. It's a bit much for me.
Let's turn our attention back to some fitness stuff. So some of the questions here had to do with belly and stuff like that. I found that since I started working out and doing this stuff, I haven't lost any weight, but I have more stamina than I used to have, and I'm more solid than I used to be. Is there ways to go about, doing a daily workout and losing the weight and, keeping it off and working maybe more on the belly and more, core type exercises?
Yeah, a few things. One is engaging the core when you're exercising is really critical for that. A lot of people don't engage their core. They just kind of move and let their core engage when it wants to.
So what does that mean, though? I mean, because I hear you guys say that as a coach. It's like engage and, is it just tensing your muscles up?
It means pulling your belly button back to your spine. But the best way I like to describe it is we've all felt it when we sneeze, right? Like, what that feeling is when you sneeze and that those abs tighten up. So engaging your core when you're working out. Also, the other 2 things, one, nutrition is huge if you want any kind of abs. Like when they say abs are built in the kitchen, they're not lying. So if you're got a lot of sugar in your diet, like that's not going to help. A lot of beer, alcohol, that's not going to help. And then the last thing is, and I'm a huge believer of this, you have to switch up your exercises and keep your body guessing. A lot of people will go in and do the same thing for 2 hours straight every single day. Like, I'm going to only do a pros only. I'm talking about Supernatural here, but like I only do high intensity. I only do boxing, and I do 2 hours straight every single, like your body starts to get conditioned to that. Right. So switching up the intensity levels, switching up flow in boxing, switching up the durations, all of those things are important to keep your body guessing. Because once your body gets conditioned to the thing, it's going to plateau.
Well, I found that because I started off at slow, then went to medium, then went to high, and then I threw out my shoulder, and so I went from high to medium. And I found that going back to medium made me sweat more and feel more winded than I did when I was doing high intensity stuff.
Well, and you got to think about it too. Like, there's a lot of people will pride themselves on like, I don't take breaks, and a professional athlete does not train the same way every single day for 4 hours. They switch things up. A professional athlete gets a timeout to be able to recoup and get back to 100% to go back out and give optimal performance. You don't have to have pride in being like, I don't skip, I skip, I don't do warm-ups, I don't do any of the extra time. I go like that. Your body is supposed to have breaks, so that way you can reach optimal performance for the next set.
Do you work out daily?
Every day. Or Sundays, I just do yoga and take a walk around the neighborhood.
Now with your yoga, one of the other questions on the Facebook posts had a lot to do with the relaxation and the meditation and stuff. I have never used that on the Supernatural. What exactly is that? I mean, is that just you saying
No, it's you get put in this beautiful environment. There's, low background music and ambient noises, and then I come over with a voiceover, and you just hear my voice run you through a meditation for about 5-7 minutes. The difference, though, is I had to realize this immediately when I was asked to do it is, if you were to do a guided meditation, say on YouTube, you get to close your eyes and they kind of take you through more of this mental process. But in Supernatural, you're in this beautiful environment, your eyes are open, you're stimulated, you're looking around. So I had to write the meditations more as affirmations, things that you should hear, that you should be telling yourself. And so I write them in that style to make sure that, I'm holding up a mirror to show you your greatness.
That's cool. So have you always been a positive person?
No, not at all. My nickname in college was Angry. That's like what the football team gave me, Angryonio, because I just played angry. On the football field, I was trying to take your soul, right? I was always down to have fun and be positive, but I could flip a switch in a heartbeat. And I still don't think like I'm a 100% positive person. Like I try to experience every emotion possible. Like otherwise, why be a human?
What emotions hit you when you got laid off?
The biggest one was surprise, and then peace, and then go mode, right? Like surprise because I was just like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. But I was also at peace because like we did something really, really cool that only a handful of people can ever say. I mean, we were it started with just myself, Rainier, and Leanne, and then we added, Mark, Duana, and Mindy, but we were like the first 6 real people inside of VR that weren't avatars or caricatures. Like we were us. So, I mean, that'll go down in history. That's something can never be taken away. And then it was like,
Right.
go mode time. I got a family I got to take care of. So I got to do something. It's not like I was just jumping ship from Supernatural and didn't want to work there anymore. The ship got blown up.
Mm-hmm. How'd you become a doctor, or why'd you become a doctor?
So I was in college. I got a psychology degree, and my plan was to try to pursue football after college. But my senior year, the inside of my ankle touched my groin in the first game of the season. And like, I had 3.5 surgeries. My first surgery, I was put into a medically induced coma because I started to wake up on the cutting table 10 hours in. Like it was brutal. And so I had to come home for physical therapy because I was casted hip to toe and couldn't walk without assistance for like 9 months. So it took me like 2 years to be able to fully sprint again. So I had to come home. And when I came home, I was working graveyard shift, like the summer right after college. I was working graveyard shift at a 24-hour fitness. I was an elementary school teacher during the day, and then on the weekends, I was a bouncer at a club. And it wasn't because like I needed money. I just didn't know what the hell to do with myself. Like I just didn't know what to do. Like I thought sports was going to be the thing that I did as a living, and now all of a sudden, I'm tossed back into my parents' home, And so I was just like, I always enjoyed school. I wouldn't mind going back. And I took a look around at the different psychologies and I found behavior analysis, and I was like, this is it. It just makes sense to me. And so I just went because I didn't know what else to do. And when I got there, it was something I was really good at. And it was a survival skill I picked up as a kid that turned into a professional skill of observation and human behavior.
So would the young Tony look at you today and say, wow, holy shit, look at where you came, or look where you got?
I think he would, but he also probably would have been like, man, you should have really, focused a little more on your athletic craft. I was having a lot of fun in college. I was having a lot of fun in high school. Like we did it up. And there wasn't a lot of focus. Like I remember travel basketball and travel baseball is like huge for kids now, right? But when I was in middle school, one of the guys who was the very first AAU basketball guy, he was like, I've seen your son play. I want him on my team. And I went to a practice, and they were doing drills, like real drills. As a coach, I understand it now. But back then, all of our basketball practice was just like roll the ball out and go play. And it was an effort that I wasn't used to. And I was like, I don't like this. But my parents grew up in a different time, so they were just kind of like, all right. And there was nobody to tell me, if you really want to play in the NBA, this is how you're going to get there. So that's the only thing I think my younger self would be like, you could have done that. But otherwise, you did a pretty damn good job.
So back to your being a teacher and being a bouncer at the same time, you ever see any of the parents of your students at the bar where you were?
No, but I've seen the teachers of the school at the bar.
They're like, oh, geez, there's Tony.
Yeah, teachers like to get wild, man. Teachers like to get wild.
Oh, I know. I always found that with my kids' teachers as well. You'd run into them, they'd be like looking at you, and you'd be like, "Nah, we're cool. I'll buy you a beer. Let's go.
Yep.
We're gonna sit here and BS, and that's just the way it goes." What would us as listeners be surprised to know about you, Doc?
I have a pseudo addiction to infomercials.
Like which ones? Do you
Like the
like to
chopper
watch?
stuff, the slicer stuff, the pots and pans, the knives that are coated, the pans that you can make eggs in without butter, all the gym equipment. Like I just, and infomercials aren't a big thing anymore. So now it's more TikTok shop. And like I just, if you catch me with something cool and I get a buy one, get one free, you got me.
So what are your favorite purchases you've made from that?
I think my favorite one, honestly, is the kitchen stuff. There's it's the kitchen stuff. I like to cook and I like to barbecue. So anything that makes my life easier in the kitchen, I'm all about it.
Do you have a set of the Ginsu knives?
We used to, not anymore.
I was going to ask
They
you,
weren't that
you're
durable.
cutting apart a can.
Yeah,
The
they
can
weren't that
ended up
durable.
slicing tomatoes, man. We're making it work. I got to ask this one because this one was on there. This was on the questions as well. Being a fellow bald headed dude,
Yes.
I shave my head every other day or when How do you keep yours so shiny?
That's just called oily skin.
Okay, I figured I'd ask. So when you went through and looked at the questions that people had to ask, which one stuck out at you?
It was interesting. There were a lot that had to do with exercise and fitness. I think the one that just keeps playing in my mind is there was a question about like, how do you exude badass, but then also peace and loving and hugs vibe at the same time. And that was the one that kept jumping out at me and had me thinking over the weekend as we prepared to do this.
So how do you answer that one?
I love samurai. I know everything about it. And I've read all the books and martial arts. I love it. I love Eastern philosophy. And the thing is, you prepare for war in the hopes that you never have to, right? The samurai hopefully never has to go to battle, but they prepare like it's imminent every single day. And so putting in that work, which also then gives you some sort of physical appearance of badassery. But then at the same time, like, I'm peaceful by choice because I know I can be the opposite. If you can't be the opposite of peaceful, you're not peaceful by choice. You are vulnerable. So I choose peace because I know I can be violent.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question here that's on here. Is like, how do you deal with the mental battles within your head?
It's interesting. I don't get anxious. I don't worry about a lot of things. I've been through more than most people should ever have to at a very young age. And guess what? It's all worked out. Like I never stop and think that this is the end of the world. Like it all works out. It may not work out the way you want it to, but it works out. You're still here. So it's your choice how you want to move forward.
That's kind of what we talked about before we even went on the air with this thing.
Yeah.
Because stuff happens. You plan for this to happen, and then life happens.
Yeah. And what are you gonna? I'm not gonna spend my time sulking about it. Yeah, I'll feel the feelings. I'll feel the surprise of the layoff, the moment of peace. But it's all right. So what's my next step? Like I don't dwell on the spilt milk. Like I'm not crying over it. It's like, okay, what's the next step? We got to clean this up, or we got to move forward here. And what are we doing? Because if I'm just going to sit in the house and cry over it, then no action, nothing's happening. I'm being stagnant.
Well, I think you've actually turned the corner pretty quickly. Because this, at least for us as people that use the game, Supernatural. We found out, and it's like this sucks. And then all of a sudden, all the coaches are up there posting positive stuff. And to me, that's pretty impressive. It took me a while when I got laid off in 2018. It took me a while. I was complaining and pissing and moaning and spent time at my cabin, and I'm just like, don't talk to me. And then somebody said you should be a bartender. I'm like, I'd rather be on that side of the bar than this side. And I'll tell you what, man, I wish I would have started being a bartender years ago, because you get to talk to people, you get to tell jokes, you get to have a cocktail or two when you're working. It's not a bad gig. How would you want people to remember you?
Hopefully people remember me as someone who made an impact on their life in some sort of positive way. Like that's really all I want, is when someone looks back and goes, oh yeah, Antonio really helped me with this or this. Even if it's a stranger, just being like, I remember I was stuck and my car was broken down, and then this guy came out of nowhere and pushed it to the side for me. Right? Like that's all I really want, for them to remember you as, someone who's made an impact on their life.
So you're the person that if you see somebody pulled over on the side of the road, you'll stop and help them?
Every single time. Every time. It's one of the things my wife always praises to my kids about me is, if I see you stuck in there and we can push you to the side, like I don't care what I'm doing. If I'm late to whatever meeting, I'm going to stop and help you. Why wouldn't I? Right? There's so many people that will just go by. I remember once I was taking my kids to school and there was an old man, had to have been in his like 70s, riding a bicycle, and he just lost control and fell off the curb and was laying there. And everybody was so concerned about getting to work in the morning rush that they just were, in a line of cars, stopped, just looking at this older gentleman in the, off the sidewalk in the street. And not one person. And so we had to go all the way back around the block and pull back up because of traffic and stop to help this gentleman out. And I don't know if myself, my son, my wife, my family were ever in a situation, I hope somebody would stop and help. So I do the same thing.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that, because I mean, you seem like that kind of guy. But I mean, some people put on the face or whatever of that, and I'm that's awesome to hear. What if you see a kid selling lemonade? Do you stop?
It'll depend. But really, I will do it more so if the kid is selling, like, out loud. So I just went to the store the other day, and as I was walking in, there was two young girls with their moms. They had to have been like 6, 7 years old, 7 or 8 or something. And they were like, "Do you want to buy some Girl Scout cookies, sir?" Like, and the fact that it was them and not their mom, I came out and bought 4 boxes. I was like, I want these 2 because I know my family like them. And then you guys tell me which ones are your favorites. But it's because they put in that effort that I did it. Had they just stood there or let their parents call out to buy it, I wouldn't have bought any.
I'm the same way. I was a scout, and I had to do that. I had to go door to door. That's back what we were talking about before, where you send your kids out for the day, but we had to go door to door. So anytime a kid comes to the door, I'm there. But I also, if I see some kid selling lemonade on the side of the street, I pull over. I buy the cup of lemonade. I usually dump it, but I always give them something, just because, hey man, this kid's out here hustling, trying to make a buck.
Yeah,
which is cool. Hey, is that all right if I ask you a little bit about your childhood?
Go for it, man.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
So I saw on your website, on your personal website, that your parent or your dad was an addict and was recovering from addictions.
Yeah.
Now, is that hard as a child? Is that hard as a child growing up in that?
It was, just because there would be things like, you got a Christmas present by December 26th that was pawned, right? Or my whole senior year of high school, when I was just crushing athletically and academically and like all over the newspapers. He was locked up that whole year. And once I found out, I was around 10 years old, because my mom just like couldn't make excuses anymore for why he'd be gone for a couple days at a time or why things would come up missing. And so she just told me. And then at that point, because the cat was let out of the bag, my dad decided to just use in the house because it's safer. He's not out in the streets. And so that's a scary thing. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody high on dope, but like, it's a scary visual, especially when they're paranoid and they're carrying butcher knives and hiding behind curtains, and you have to make your presence known so that you don't surprise them. So it just made me grow up really fast, but I was always able to separate that there's my dad and then there's my dad on drugs. That guy is not my dad, right? And I think the big thing that allowed me to deal with it, and also he's one of my best friends to this day, is he never lied to me about it. He always owned up to it. So by being honest, it gave me the opportunity to go, do I want to forgive this or not? Because had he just lied to me and then I found out later, there'd be a lot of resentment.
Well, there's a lot of kids of addicts that end up following the same path as their parents. I swear I'm never going to, whatever it is. And then they end up being the exact thing that they said that they wouldn't be. And you said that, your favorite tattoo is your like son, like father. So, I mean, that probably took a lot for you to not become or not to follow that footstep, or was that something that you're like, hell no, I'm not doing that?
Well, I always knew I would never put anything up my nose, a needle in my arm, or smoke anything in rock form. I was like, I've seen what that does to people. Everything else was fair game, man. Like, I'm not going to lie about it, especially in college. That's one of the great things about being in a small town, is you have to create your own fun, and not saying that you have to do drugs and alcohol to have fun, but we had fun.
Right.
Right. So, and it, though I didn't have an addiction the way my dad did, I had a super toxic relationship with alcohol, especially coming out of college. And then my last year, where I'm casted the whole time and like struggling with my identity of who am I now that I'm not an athlete anymore. And like, that's, college teaches you a lot, but one of the things it teaches you is how to drink.
Yeah.
And so
I lived in La Crosse for 28 years, which was at one time was the largest per capita amount of bars in the country. I don't think it is as much anymore, but I mean, there's a lot of drinking going on there.
yeah, it would start Wednesday night with Moose Club, and then it would just carry on over until, Monday morning. And then Monday and Tuesday were kind of your recuperating days. And that was like for 4 years. And the only other time was during football season, we would not drink the day before the game. But the moment the game was over, we were drinking on the bus rides back, man. It was a toxic relationship, but I had to get right with that for myself.
One of the questions that was asked had to deal with your meditations and belief in God. Do you have a strong belief in a higher power?
Yeah, that's part of the book series that I've been writing. It's been a interesting journey because I didn't grow up in the church. I still don't attend church. I was more spiritual in terms of the universe and that type of thing. And then in 2024, my wife's Catholic. She doesn't go to church either, but her mom is like a devout Catholic, go to mass twice a week type thing. And so there was this moment where my middle son asked if he could have a Bible. And I was like, how interesting that he hears two different sides of things and he's chosen one for himself. And I've always struggled with what faith was and what that meant. And it's because I always tied it to church. And so I decided, all right, on 2025, I'm going to kind of find out if faith is a thing for me. And so I read the Bible in its entirety. I prayed, I practiced. And, what I found out was all the stuff I was believing in terms of the universe, it's the exact same. The only difference is the religious aspect of the church and tied to other people. But my relationship with God is one that's for me, right? So at the end of the day, as long as you are doing things that are kind and compassionate towards other people, like you're good, right? Including being kind and compassionate towards yourself. And so however anybody wants to practice or have faith, that's completely up to them. But I can say that in finding that faith and building that personal relationship with God, that's why it was so easy for me to be at peace when the layoff happened.
Did it surprise you that you were that way?
It didn't once I went through the Bible and read it. What was surprising was I was putting a lot of judgment based off of past experience with church and then going, wait a minute, like people are people. So all the different things that happened when I tried to attend church, like that's just people being people. That has nothing to do with my relationship with God. Like I can have this for myself. As an athlete, you get a sense of doing your part for a greater good. So it had a real strong connection with me of doing my part in this world for a greater good of all that allows us to be.
So do you sometimes look at people and are you disappointed a lot of times when you look at somebody not doing the right thing? Or I mean, how do you personally deal with that? If you're like you said, you drove by that old man that fell off his bicycle down to, and there's people thousands of people driving by. I mean, that kind of stuff irritates me personally when somebody doesn't want to stop and help somebody out. How does Doc deal with that?
One is I do the thing that I think should be done. Two, I also express to my children and raising them, like, this is the right thing to do, right? So I'm relaying that behavior to the next generation of my family and our last name. But the other thing is, it's what a coach told me when I first started coaching high school football, where I was stressed. I had lost all my hair. I was really going through it. And he just, came up and was like, what's going on? Are you doing all right? And I was just telling him how no one cares the way I care and this and that and how much it was affecting me. And he just said, he looked at me and just goes, if you allow others to control your emotions, you deserve everything you get. And I was like, oh, okay. And I really took that to heart. And so it doesn't mean that when people do things, it doesn't bother me, but I'm not going to allow that to affect me on the inside. And anytime I find myself ruminating on a thought of what someone else does, it's like, pull your shit together, man. Like, it's not about you.
And you really can't blame other people for the way you feel or any of that stuff either. I mean, that's all personal and that's on you.
Yeah. And so I can be mad at something or be disgusted at something, but what good does it do for me if I would have gotten out and yelled at all those cars who passed by this guy? What does that help anything besides take away from me helping this old guy potentially making someone get out of the car and say something to me that causes a bigger situation. Like, who knows, right? Like, just not necessary.
How has your definition of happiness changed over the last 42 years of your life?
I used to think a lot of external things was what was going to make me happy. Now I realize it's all internal. And also the things that make me happy are so small, man. Like my son coming out of the house to greet me when I pull up. Laughing super hard during a UFC fight on Saturday with my wife because of something she thought she saw. Sitting out yesterday with my favorite beer in the pool, just hanging out after I came back from, being with my buddy at the racetrack. Like, it's the small little things that I just really, really enjoy. And that all comes from inside.
I spent this last weekend. I have 4 children that are adults, and I have 4 grandchildren. And we rented a house in the Wisconsin Dells for the weekend, Thursday through yesterday. And it was my partner and I, my ex-wife, our 4 kids, our 4 grandchildren, and our kids' partners. And it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And, it just the love in that house and the laughing and the fellowship and just everybody getting together is just so much. It just brings so much joy to my heart,
That's why I love barbecues, right? Like growing up, it was just myself, my sister, mom, and dad. And that was it, right? But now, it's my sister has 3 kids. Her oldest daughter has a son. I've got 3 kids. My wife has a sister who has 3 kids. The grandparents are around. Like I got 2 younger brothers, and they've got kids. So what grew up as 4 people eating in front of the television, all of a sudden is a barbecue with 20 people running around and all this laughter and joy. And that's my favorite. If I could do that every single day, I would.
Right. But would there be potato salad?
No, there would not be. Nope. And if you brought it, we would accidentally forget it in the refrigerator.
So nobody out of the 20 people there, nobody eats potato salad?
They might, but they just don't eat it at my house.
You got to be who you are. You're not going to fool anybody if you're putting on a mask and bullshitting your way through things.
We all see right through it.
What would you tell your 13-year-old self at 42?
You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right.
Any parting words?
I'll give you parting words from my 11-year-old son. I asked him if he could talk to his 30-year-old self right now, what would he say? And his answer was, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do.
Thanks so much for listening to the BS with Bob podcast. Basically, it's just me pulling up the metaphorical bar stool and chatting with everyone from entertainers to educators to business owners to marketing gurus. People who've done cool things, survived weird stuff, and have a good story to tell. Please like, subscribe, and share the podcast.